And so I think everybody here knows Reverend Laura Bennett very well. She has been with us multiple times. She has a website, which is her name, laurabennett.com. And from there, you can get connected to a lot of her works. And she just shared before we started this morning that she has a little 4 or 5 minute presentation, kind of a prayer leading up to the election, something to maybe center on and get your head and heart connected during a little stressful time. So Laura has blessed the world with that and many other things that I think you can enjoy from her website. So without any further ado, she's continuing with part two of The Gateway of Freedom. Dr. Laura, take it away.
Okay. Well, first of all, this series, two-part series, was inspired by something I read about one of my dad's mentors, Dr. George Lamsa. And I mentioned him before. He's a gentleman who translated the Bible from the Aramaic, which was the language of Jesus. And and um, and he said that the Beatitudes, or not the Beatitudes, but the Sermon on the Mount is like the constitution of the Bible. And in a way, he was right, because there's a lot about the Sermon on the Mount that is that. So I thought, well, if the Sermon on the Mount's the Constitution, the Beatitudes must be the preamble, because they open that passage. And so I just made a little thing matching the Beatitudes to the preamble of the Constitution, made a talk series from it. The prayers I'll be doing, because of their brevity, I keep them within 2 to 4 minutes. The prayers I'll be doing on a daily basis on my website do not reference the Constitution of the United States, because I have to keep them brief. But these Beatitudes are universal principles. They're universal teachings. When any great teacher of any religious tradition is teaching from the core of their spirituality, they're teaching a universal teaching that applies to all people. And that's how Jesus taught. That's part of what got him into trouble, is that he was teaching for everybody, and not just his Judaic Christianity. He might have been the CFUO of his day in Judaism, because he was taking those basic principles and laws of Judaism and translating them into a new understanding. And there was a deliberate thing in the Gospel of Matthew, which is the most Judaic of the Gospels. There was a deliberate thing when they put Jesus on a mount to give his sermon, or his main teachings, because this reflected Moses receiving the law from God on what? A mountain. So for Jesus to give a Sermon on the Mount, what he was revealing was a new law, a law that was based on inner awareness, versus an understanding of what God set up as guidelines and, for life and all this. Jesus said, "You have heard it said, but I say to you," and he gives a new understanding. He says he's come not to abolish the law and the prophets, but to fulfill on them. So he deepens, and the deeper we go into any spiritual teaching, the more we get to the core of what we all are. And that's what these Beatitudes do. And that's why I think they're highly appropriate for any group of any religion or non-religion, because they are universal teachings. So we'll start. We'll open the slide here. Gateway of Freedom is what I call it, because as you develop these attitudes and these approaches to life, they give you a sense of freedom. This is part 2 of 3. because I'll do a follow-up. The next time I speak for you, I'll do a follow-up on, because the election will be behind us at that point. So I want to do a little follow-up, not with the Beatitudes necessarily, but with something from the Sermon on the Mount that would address the results of our upcoming election. So gateway of freedom, and let's move to the next slide. And there is a reminder of the preamble of the Constitution. And again, I asked somebody to read it last time, and I'll ask again this time. Who would like to read the preamble of the Constitution for us?
I'm happy to do that.
Okay, thank you, Tim.
We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America.
Okay, good. And I would add that whatever country you might be tuning in from, we might have some Canadians or people from Mexico or Canada or from other places in the world. These again are universal, divinely human principles, forming a more perfect union, establishing justice, ensuring tranquility, have a common protection for the people, promoting general welfare, and securing the blessings of liberty. Those are just basic, as our forefathers said, inalienable human rights. And I will say this, just as a little commentary. This is a non-political teaching that I'm giving here. It's based on foundational principles, but there's no party or person promoted through these teachings, just the principles themselves. So this, speaks to your heart as it does, and it speaks to me primarily of unity. And at the end, we will see a video, or toward the end, we will see a video that is a video of unity, based on one of the most divisive battles in our nation's history, in the U.S. history. So let's move on to the next slide. Okay, so in honor of Halloween today, we are going to be visiting the ghosts of our past. And we're going to start with the ghosts of our biblical stories, including where Jesus is said to have delivered his Sermon on the Mount, which was from a high place. And these are hills. You can see, for anybody who's been to Colorado or the Sierras, that these are not mountains according to those standards, but they are high plateaus and hills that you look out at the surrounding countryside from. Many of this kind of geography is in our own country. So this was one of the views from the Mount of Beatitudes, what they now call the Mount of Beatitudes in Israel. And Larry and I did visit this place once, and I think I shared this in my last talk. We visited this and stood there. We were there at sunset, and we looked out over the Galilean countryside and Lake Kinneret, which is the formerly Sea of Galilee. And it was just an amazing experience. And the little chapel there, there was a Ukrainian group there that had arranged to do Vespers in the little chapel. So there was some chanting in Ukrainian in the little chapel there. And it was just a total moment of peace. And they had beautiful gardens and a little fountain of pure water that you could anoint yourself with. And it was just an amazing, amazing spot then. But then when, if you can imagine when Jesus was there, it was a wilderness. It was just, there was nothing to it but rocky hillside. But that's perfect for a natural amphitheater. So you can imagine that. So our sources are the United States Constitution, the Gospel of Matthew. Dr. Paul C. Barrett, my own father, shared some ideas from his notes, and of course myself. Okay, and our next slide. And there's your rocky hillside as you look out over the Galilean countryside there. And it goes with our 8 pieces that we are looking at from the Beatitudes. We have 9 on the videos because there is another piece of a Beatitude. It's attached to number 8, but it really has a distinct teaching in itself. So I'm doing that extra on the website. Okay, so there's poor in spirit, which we looked at, which was my first. It's also my first video. To be poor in spirit actually means to release your egoic stuff, to release your egoic concerns about stuff. It's a sense of humility. It doesn't mean to be poor. It's not about being poor. It's about recognizing that your ego is the servant and not the ruler. So it's an attitude of humility, to mourn, to allow yourself grief. So I heard something on the news this morning where people were talking about losing someone dear to them. And they said, grief never completely goes away. Well, I think perhaps our grief is a blessing when we remember people in our hearts and when it touches us deeply, even to the point of tears. And even if we're sad that they're not with us physically anymore, we're having a positive remembrance because we have a positive remembrance. And in that moment, we are truly connected with them and with spirit. And that's why blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted. And then meek actually literally means, if you go to the etymology of the words, it means being willing and teachable. It means being open and willing to learn and listen. Then righteousness is a reference to justice, things balancing out, the right use of spiritual principle that brings life into balance. And today we start with mercy. And the reason I highlighted compassion is because I had forgiveness there before. But it truly, literally means compassion. So I tweaked that a little bit. Okay, and that's where we'll start. I'm not going to do the next 4 because I'm already doing them. So we'll go to the next slide. Mercy. Okay. As my great-grandmother used to say, mercy. She used to say that quite a bit. Mercy. There'd be something that'd be happening in the news or in life, and she'd just go, mercy. And in a way, that's like an affirmation of compassion, of I can feel this, I can empathize with this, I can know that there are better things for people than this. So blessed are the merciful, for they shall have mercy. This refers to being compassionate, and I missed, I said humility there, but it should be compassion. To be compassionate is to be tender-hearted, sensitive, and responsive to others in practical, positive, and uplifting ways. And you can see, to be blessed means that which brings spiritual satisfaction and contentment. And mercy is compassion. And so our metaphysical look at it, our way of looking at a deeper level of it, is content is the mind that is anchored in the compassionate heart, for it will experience uplifting compassion. So, blessed are the merciful, for they shall have mercy. And to prepare us for the upcoming election, and how many of us, well, you don't have to raise your hand. But if you've already voted, congratulations. You can acknowledge that in yourself. And for those of you who are planning to go in and vote, congratulations to you. As you prepare to do that, whatever your decision is regarding the upcoming election, if you think of it as a positive contribution to others through a heartfelt sensitivity, because to be compassionate is to feel. It's community passion. It's to feel with others, to feel with others. Not to the trick to this is not to be dragged down by those feelings, but to acknowledge them, knowing you are greater than them. I remember in an ashram I spent some time in. I was one of the greeters in the ashram, and they trained us that if somebody, when you're working on the front line, sometimes people get upset about things. If somebody's upset about things, don't diss them with an attitude of, oh, everything's fine. But really listen to what they're saying, feel it, feel what they're saying, while at the same time, being greater than what they're saying, so you can actually have a conversation with them, tune into them, but then lift them up to a new understanding, because you are seeing it from a higher perspective at that moment. And we all need someone in our lives to do that. Someone who's holding the high watch for us and as well as with us. Someone who can feel with us, but who also has the higher perspective. And that's what compassion is. Okay, so we positively contribute to others as we go through this time of election or any choice in life, any decision we're making in life, any project we're pursuing. And then from the Constitution, it's about promoting general welfare. Okay, so our next beatitude, I call it at-one-ment. Pure in heart. It's one of the most beautiful beatitudes. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. Now think about what that would mean for you. What does that mean? Does that mean you have to be perfect? You have to have no negative thinking whatsoever? No. Negative thoughts happen. They do. They pass through our minds like squirrels pass through our yards. They squirrel their way through. But the thing is, let them keep going. Notice them and let them keep going. It's when we try. Have you tried to grab a squirrel? It's when you try to hold on to them that things get all kind of squirrely. Things get all messed up, and that we find ourselves on a downward spiral of thought and feeling. So let them pass through and out. This is the way to maintain our purity, because you're already pure. You don't have to be or do anything other than just be who you are in this moment. So blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. To be pure means to be clean and clear. It means to clear your mind, but just to let the squirrels keep running through and out. Pure in heart, the clear and quiet heart mind, the mind connected to the heart, free of the clutter of limiting thoughts, letting them just keep moving through. Heart and mind consciously at one with the divine. And the metaphysical statement, content are the quiet mind and heart, for they are fully aware of God. That's what it means to see God. It means to see God in you. I see God in you. I see God in my cat, who's curled up to my right here on top of my desk, under the lamp. I wish I could show her to you, but my computer's wired down, so I can't move it. And I see God in and all that is around me, and the trees outside, and my husband who's rattling around in the kitchen right now. And you just see and sense God in everything and everyone around you. Content are the quiet mind and heart, and let that seeing God quiet the mind and heart, and vice versa. Let the quiet mind and heart clear your vision to see God. And for our election preparation, be still and let inner knowing be your guide to freedom. So if you haven't voted yet, it's always really great just to take a moment, take a deep breath, and then look at the ballot and do what you are led to do. And from the Constitution, or if you have voted yet, I'm sure you did something, some version of that. From the Constitution, secure the blessings of liberty. Freedom comes from within, from that stillness and that peace within. And that is your at-one-ment with Spirit. At-one-ment, pure in heart, is that pure, is when you know you are one, whatever thoughts are running through your mind, you know you are one. Okay. And our next statement is peace. On the Mount of Beatitudes is a peace pole. There's also a peace pole, as I pointed out in my last PowerPoint. There's also a peace pole at Megiddo, which is the site of great battles in the Bible. So Israel has these peace poles. Now, isn't that amazing? I think we need to call forth some of the energy of those peace poles in Israel right now. But if we focus on the peace, on the people who want peace, on the people who long for peace, if we in our prayers, when we pray for peace in the world, if we reach into the very hearts of people on any side of a conflict and call forth the peace within them, then it will occur in the outer. And so let's keep doing that. Let's keep doing that. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called children of God. See, I didn't change it again. Oh dear. I need a secretary to proofread for me. Is what I need. But I don't have that. I used to have that for my class notes, but I don't have that. Okay. So this would be peace, one who abides in the consciousness of peace and communicates that consciousness to others. To bring together in harmony. It means to bring together in harmony, to be a peacemaker. To hold, and the way we can bring people together in harmony is in our own minds. We can hold the space in our own minds and hearts for people to dwell in harmony. So whoever's on whatever side of the political spectrum of the conflicts in the world, bring them together in your mind in harmony. And the metaphysical statement, content is the mind that holds to peaceful and harmonizing thoughts, for such thoughts are inspired by God. And for the election coming up, find unity in the diversity. Find unity in the diversity. You are voting, or you are doing whatever you do to participate in the election. You are doing that not to put other people down. Oh, it may sound like somebody who's in the election. Not to put other people down, but to lift everyone up. Find unity find the things that lift us all up. And from the Constitution, form a more perfect union. Okay, and that's how you become a child of God. In other words, you are actually the living offspring, the living Spirit of God in action. That's how you become a child of God. You are that living offspring, that living spirit. Okay, our next slide. Knowing and expressing the truth. I didn't move pure in heart at all. It must be something we need to focus on today. Blessed are those who are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Whoa, persecution in a unity teaching? Oh my gosh. Those who are persecuted, if you look to the right column, represent inspired ideas that confront old ways of thinking, and those who bring them forward for the good of all. So when your own inspired ideas, have you ever had an inspired idea and then something in you says, no, that won't work? Or been there, done that, got the t-shirt, why try it again? You know, you have these self-persecutors of the monkey mind within you, of the busy mind within you, that will come up and actually confront your new ideas. But to be persecuted in the process of bringing balance back into life and to face it off, to actually stand in your truth in the face of it, is an extremely powerful thing. An extremely powerful thing. So the metaphysical statement is, content is the mind that is willing to confront old ways of thinking with new ideas. For those ideas and the actions they inspire expand and deepen our awareness of God. For theirs is the kingdom of heaven. And for the election, stand strong in the truth. In your truth, in the truth you know. Stand strong in the truth. And from the Constitution, provide for the common defense. And what that means is, know that everyone is under that divine law of grace and protection. And as my metaphysical teacher Ed Rabel used to say, and I probably said this in previous talks, give everyone safe passage through your mind. And that was his interpretation of the commandment, thou shalt not kill. Give everyone safe passage through your mind. All right. And next. All right. From Beatitudes to free attitudes. And I call them in my video series on my website, new attitudes. So poor in spirit is the attitude of humility. To mourn is positive remembrance. To be meek is to be teachable. And you have inherit the earth. All the earth is available to those who are teachable. To hunger and thirst for righteousness is to work on bringing justice into your world. And there is a follow-up one to that. Mercy is to be compassionate. Pure in heart is to know you are at one with God. Peacemaker is to know your wholeness and the wholeness of others. And to be persecuted for righteousness' sake. That's the follow-up on righteousness. When you do confront obstacles, self-doubt, pessimism in yourself, stand in your truth. Stand in your truth. Okay. And you can see the rocky hillside there, once again, of the Mount of Beatitudes. So now it's time to go to a little ghost story of another hillside. And let's go to the next slide. All right. So here is some similar terrain in the state of Pennsylvania. Ooh, one of our battleground states, they're calling it. A battleground state. Well, here's a literal battleground in Pennsylvania. And you can see it is also a rocky hillside. That's, again, because the earth is the earth, wherever it is, whatever country it is in. And these granite hills, like the Mount of Beatitudes and like Little Round Top in Gettysburg, have these great boulders and this gentle sloping down. And you can't really tell that you're up on a higher level, except you are looking at a vast panorama here. And this is only in one direction. Little Round Top was a perfect place to see most of the battlefield of Gettysburg. So it was coveted. And the Union, if you've ever seen the movie Gettysburg, the Union had, very heroically held on to it. And the Confederacy had to charge up the hill. Usually in battles, whoever has to charge up the hill, when a high spot is being defended, that they definitely have the advantage, those who are defending the high spot. But here was Little Round Top looking out across. And of course, I don't know if you all know this, but there are all kinds of ghost stories about the battlefield of Gettysburg. One of them being, I'll do a couple from Little Round Top. One is a ghost story that goes all the way back to the battle itself, in that Union soldiers reported having seen the ghost of George Washington leading them into battle. But today, there was a young boy, a drummer, on the Union side who was killed in the battle. And tourists today report hearing his drums playing when they are up on Little Round Top. So there are all kinds of ghostly stories. And of course, the Devil's Den, which is down at the foot of Little Round Top, a group of boulders in which Confederate snipers were hiding, and which great violence took place. They say is filled with ghostly apparitions. So I'm just bringing up the ghosts because it's Halloween and it's in the spirit of things, so to speak. But what are ghosts? What are ghosts? I'm not going to get into the paranormal or anything like that. But what is a ghost in our life? It might be an old memory that might need a blessing and a release. That might be holding us back and need a blessing and a release. Or it might be an old memory that blesses us, but as we remember and shift the space and time in our own minds, we in a sense are participating in that interdimensional interaction that can actually transform our past into a blessing for our present. Okay, so Little Round Top. So here's a little bit from Little Round Top. Oh, first we'll do the Gateway to Freedom. No, do the Gateway to Freedom. Go ahead. All right. So the Gateway to Freedom. Given our time, I'm going to let you just take a look. These are from each of the Beatitudes that we looked at. Mentally shift from me to we. These are the teachings, the teachings for our election, as we, or any decision we're making in life. Mentally shift from me to we. Heal the past by honoring the good and building on it. Be willing to learn and discern. Practice equanimity and act with integrity. That's our balance, our righteousness. Positively contribute to others through heartfelt sensitivity. There's your compassion. Be still and let inner knowing be your guide to freedom. There's your pure in heart. Find unity in diversity and stand strong in your truth. There's your gateway to freedom. And now let's listen to words that were said in the dedication of a grave site for all soldiers involved in the Battle of Gettysburg. So let's listen to these words given by a unity, a coming together of people that will surprise you. All right, so let's go to that video. There it is. Okay. And there you see people of all backgrounds coming together for the principle of unity, and something created by us as we, the people. And that's our attitude, just to be open, feel that peace and that freedom and stand for it not just for your sake, but for everyone, and stand in your truth. Okay. And that leads us to our brief time of meditation. There we are, and we're back on the hilltop in Gettysburg, blessing the ghosts of the past, and being blessed from our awareness of what has gone before us, being blessed in this present moment, and carrying the spirit of unity and peace and freedom into the future. So let's just take a deep breath, allowing ourselves to do that. And truly, truly knowing that in this moment, there is humility. There is the understanding of mercy. There is tremendous compassion and atonement, peace, unity, the power of the truth. All are right here, right now. Take a deep breath. Feel the peace within. Let it radiate out to your environment around you. Let it radiate out to your community. Let that glow, that warm light of peace, fill every heart. Let it envelop the whole world. And see it awakening in every heart. Peace, unity, freedom for all. And so it is. So we're going to close with one of my favorite songs that I've sung or learned and sung many years in unity. And I didn't know it wasn't anything but a unity song until I saw this version of it recently. So here we go.
That was wonderful. Thank you, Dr.
Thank
Laura. That was just great. A wonderful reminder of the spiritual ability to integrate these great ideas into our practical everyday life and the challenges that we're facing, and comparing it to our Constitution. Just a beautiful paradigm and fresh ideas about how we can live these spiritual principles. Much appreciated. Thank you. Thank you again.
Thank you. Thank you.